Hello YouTube, this is going to be a different kind of video. I'm not going to share with you any special kind of deck list or card that no one's talking about. Instead, I want to share my thoughts on Black Gecko Moria. I think this is a really fun and strong leader. Feel free to let me know on your thoughts on this video and my opinion in the comments below. Nonetheless, pull out your pen and paper and let's get into it. There's a lot of deck lists out there that we can find on the internet. When OP06 first started, a lot of people were running the Thriller Bark cards. The leader ability was able to get so much value from the grave and be able to handpick cards that you wanted to play. This is the first mono black leader that's able to go first and second, playing a really strong tempo, so going first with 3 Dawn and being able to play a 4 cost that can immediately give you value. I'll post some interesting combos that you can do with the Thriller Bark cards, as well as some of these deck lists that initially came out in Japan. Later on, you can see that decks were running more navy cards to help with tempo plays led by removal. Since it's so easy to remove cards with Absalon and Rob Lucci, this was easy to create a form where you can deal with your opponent's attackers, as well as you can build a very strong board presence as well. Unlike blue, a lot of the black cards are cost specific removals, so it is necessary to remove cost minusing cards. That's why in a lot of these decks you can see fairly cheap cards such as Ice Age and Great Eruption. It's also important to build your grave early so you have more options to play cards off of your leader ability. Turn 1 Brand New or Sindri really helps mulligan cards into your grave to use as tools moving forward. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cool interactions that you can do with the Thriller Bark cards, but when it comes to becoming competitive, hybrid build is the way. Let's break down this deck. The Navy version that a lot of people are running have access to a lot of these strong cards like Ice Age to improve the reach for a lot of the removal cards that Gecko Moria plays, like Rob Lucci as well as Absalon. But the new card that really gives black a power boost is the 8 cost Gecko Moria. Being able to grab any 4 and 2 costs from your grave, which lets you be able to gain more advantage to swing the game. You're able to grab Rob Lucci and a new card that people run, Helmeppo, to remove cards. You can even grab a Kuzan from your grave to preemptively build up a board to do a stronger removal string, as well as +1. You can always transition into going into defense with a 4 cost Borsellino. There's just so many different options that you can pivot to and get value from this 8 cost Gecko Moria. While we're talking about the Thriller Bark cards, let's talk about the new big 3. The first one I want to talk about is the Perona. Perona is a 2k counter, as well as it's able to make your opponent pitch a card if they have 5 cards in hand. Her second ability, Dawn minuses 3 to a character, which can come into play around the 7 to 8 Dawn turn when you are able to play her, Dawn -3, a 5 cost character, and swing 6k with your leader to bring back Absalon from the grave to pop that character. The second card I want to talk about is Dr. Hogback. This is the real reason why Gecko Moria is so consistent, and the real reason why we can also be very aggressive when it comes to milling our deck. Hogback is able to bring back a Thriller Bark card and we can add it to hand. So when we mill a Perona, our 2k counter, or other Thriller Bark cards like 8 cost Gecko Moria, we can bring it back so we can have a very strong follow-up turn. And last but not least, Absalon. As a One Piece character, he's trash, but as a One Piece card character, this card is very powerful to just have on-demand removal from your grave, being able to swing and just pop cards. So everything that I just talked about is just the basics on what the Gecko Moria deck is, and this is probably no different than what you've heard from other YouTube videos that might be out there. But moving forward, let's just talk about how to play this deck and what lines that we can see or pathways to make us have a good time. How do we want to play this deck? So in the first couple turns, we really want to set up our trash, either through Sindri or brand new, being able to mill Thriller Bark cards, so we can use our leader ability to establish bodies and get a value early. It's okay if we mill some of our navy cards like Lucci and Helmeppo, because ultimately we're trying to set up our trash to prepare for our 8 cost Gecko Moria turn. And later on in the game, it's okay to pitch Lucci's from our hand just so it doesn't clog it. We don't want to be too greedy. We want to do our best to be very methodical to set up the strongest 8 cost Gecko Moria turn that we can develop. Early stages in the game, we really want to create a difference in resource, either through the draw power of Kuzan, getting resources from Hogbag, as well as just milling from brand new and Sindri. We can also Prona to -1 from your opponent. So there's so many things we can do to just gain a inherent advantage from your opponent. So Gecko Moria, like I said, can go first and second, and generally it curves out better going first, but it doesn't feel bad going second as well. And a lot of times we choose to go second just so we can deny our opponent's curve. So if we do decide to go first, a couple cards that we're looking for is going to be Sindri, Perona, Sabo, and the 4-cost Kuzan. On turn 1, we're going to be playing Sindri just to set up our trash, and on turn 2, when we have 3 Dawn, we want a leader ability, either cheating out the Perona and making your opponent pitch a card, or depending on what is in our grave, we can always play Hogback to get value from our trash. On turn 3, either a Sabo or we can brand new and leader ability, or we can even use Great Eruption, leader ability, Absalon. We have a very flexible turn 3 play. On turn 4 is usually my favorite, where we're at 7 Dawn. Something that we can do is leader ability, and usually we play a Borsellino or Kuzan to set the board up, but a lot of the times, if I can, I like to double Perona and -2 cards from my opponent's hand. And turn 5 is where we can play our Gecko Moria. So usually we're at 9 Dawn, and we can either play Ice Age or Great Eruption. And then this is where we play our 8 cost Gecko Moria to either grab the Lucci and Helmeppo to clear the board, or we can set it up with other options, other 4 cost, 2 cost characters that are in our graveyard. It's a very flexible turn. And when it comes to going second, usual cards that I look for is brand new, so you can play it on curve. Any 4 costs, either Borsellino or Kuzan, Thriller Bark cards, as well as the Sabo. So going second, turn 1, you have 2 Dawn, you played the brand new. Turn 2, a lot of times I played the Kuzan or Borsellino, but you really have to look at your opponent. Are they able to clear the Kuzan? Sometimes, depending on what brand new pulls, leader ability would be more beneficial. Turn 3 is a awkward turn in my opinion. Sometimes if you're running Tashigi, you can play Tashigi, Dawn minus, do leader ability, and pop a 4 cost character that your opponent plays. On turn 4, this is where we're at 8 Dawn. A part of me feels like a lot of people just want to play the 8 cost Gecko Moria on Teppo to get the value to go wide, but I prefer to play Sabo and then leader ability to be able to get that value and then do a follow-up Moria turn when I'm at 10 Dawn. But if you're able to Gecko Moria on curve, play Hogback, get another Gecko Moria, so on your turn 5, you're able to Ice Age, Great Eruption, and play that Gecko Moria to get that Helmeppo Lucci combo. More power to you. That would be a very strong play. And ultimately, don't worry if you mulligan and you don't see these cards in your hands, because ultimately with your leader ability, the cards that you're looking for are going to end up in your trash. And I just want you guys to be mindful. A lot of the times people get so caught up on the 8 Dawn turn where they just want to play the 8 cost Gecko Moria for value. But a lot of the times using the leader ability and playing Sabo and setting up our turn for the follow-up where we can play our Gecko Moria for a stronger impact might be more beneficial. Instead, when we're at 9 Dawn, we can play Ice Age, 8 cost Gecko Moria, and grab Lucci, Helmeppo, allowing us to KO up to a 7 cost character. And if we have that 4 cost Cruzon on board, that another reducer, we can use that to KO up a 9 cost character. I'm also just a really big fan of Sabo. He came in really clutch in OP05 because I hate Amaru, I hate triggers, and Sabo is just at that 5 cost range where yellows can't mess with it. And it just provides protection on your board where you are able to become more aggressive as well as be chillin' when your opponent tries to use effects to remove your board. And one thing I do want to say when it comes to playing Gecko Moria or any removal decks, I just want to say don't get too attached to your opponent's large characters. If you're trying to deal with your opponent's character immediately after they play it, you're just gonna lose resources, and to avoid that, often we can just ignore the large body just once rather than focusing on that large character. We can establish a board, go wide with our medium-sized character, as well as put up blockers and defense to be able to follow up and then clear that character on the follow-up turn. Unless it is green cost Zoro. I hate that card. That card gotta go ASAPO. In conclusion, when it comes to Gecko Moria, I truly believe resource is the name of the game. Hands down, I'm gonna be real with you, in OP06, Sakazuki is the best deck of the format. I'm not gonna lie to you, but Gecko Moria is more consistent and able to come behind and just take gains with the 8 cost Gecko Moria. Unfortunately, I do have to cut the video there. I really would like to cover matchups and be able to tell you if you're able to go first or second depending on your opponent. But unfortunately, I just don't have that deck experience or that experience to be able to tell you truly on if you want to go first or second depending on the matchups. But because you're Gecko Moria, I truly believe if you understand the basics of your opponent decks and their win con, Gecko Moria can just wreak havoc and disrupt and close out the game. Ciao.